The first 4 episodes covered what the cloud is and what it costs. Now we start the biggest part of the exam, security. It comes down to one question: who is responsible for what? First, what AWS secures, then what you secure, and finally, how the line shifts by service. That's the shared responsibility model. Here's the whole model in one picture. Security in the cloud is shared between two parties. You, the customer, are responsible for security in the cloud. That means your data, who is allowed to access it, and how you configure the services you switch on. AWS is responsible for security of the cloud itself, the physical hardware, the global infrastructure of regions and zones, and the software that runs the managed services. Neither side covers the other, and security only holds when both do their part. If that still feels abstract, here's an everyday version. Think of an apartment building. The owner looks after the building itself, the foundations, the outer walls, the locks on the front entrance, the power, and the water. That is AWS securing the cloud. But inside your own apartment, you decide what you keep there and who you hand a key to. That is you securing what's in the cloud. And notice, the owner can't stop you from propping your own door open. In the cloud, that propped open door is a misconfiguration, and it sits squarely on your side of the line. One part never changes, whichever service you use. Your data is always yours to protect, and access is always yours too. You decide who can see it and who can change it. Get those two right on every service, and the half that's yours is handled. Now, the part that trips people up: that dividing line is not fixed. It moves depending on the service. With a plain virtual server like EC2, a lot sits on your side. With a managed database like RDS, AWS takes on more of the work. And with something like S3 or Lambda, AWS handles almost everything underneath. The pattern is simple. The more managed the service, the more AWS carries, and the less is left to you. Here's that shift made concrete. On an EC2 virtual server, you patch the guest operating system yourself, you configure the firewall, and you manage your application. AWS only secures the physical host underneath it. Move to RDS, the managed database, and AWS takes over patching the database engine and the operating system, and it runs your backups. You still own the data, the access, and the network settings. Same company, same data center, but the responsibility line sits in a different place. That is the whole idea of shared responsibility. So why does this matter? The two sides carry very different risk. AWS's side is well protected, rarely the problem. Your side is where incidents almost always start from a setting left wrong, like a storage location left public by accident or an access rule far too broad. The model tells you exactly which half is yours, and that half is where the real risk lives. On the exam, these questions are direct. Patching the physical server in the data center is always AWS. Patching the guest operating system on your EC2 instance is you. Deciding who can read a file is always you on every service. And configuring a service securely is you as well. When you're unsure, ask whether the task is about the infrastructure itself or about what you put on it. Let's recap. Security in the cloud is shared. AWS secures the cloud itself while you secure what you put in it. Your data and your access are always yours on every single service. The line between you moves by service. The more managed it is, the more AWS carries. And your half is where most of the real risk lies, so it's the half to get right. Next episode: Identity and Access Management, or IAM. First, protect the root user, the all-powerful account. Then create users and groups with just the permissions they need, and use roles and multi-factor authentication to keep access tight. That's IAM. Thanks for watching, and see you there.